I'm back again today. I'm eating. You can see my bowl. I was trying to wait to show y'all what it looked like before I started digging in it, but I had a couple interruptions before I could start the video. I decided to come back today because I had just ran into a family, long time family friend. She's really like family to me, and we were talking about being well, and I was getting a salad. She got a salad, and we were just talking about her health, and then I started talking about discipline and like the conversation I had with God about why this journey this time was going to be different. And the Holy Spirit, he always takes me to another level. Like when I think I figured something out, he comes back and he's like, well, this is the deeper part of it. So what I had said to her, what I realized was, what he told me was, it was deeper than motivation, and that it was about self-control, self-discipline, which is a fruit of the Spirit. And I was like, okay, God, okay. And so after I left her presence, I was in the car, and I was moved to look up the definition of motivation. And before I looked up the definition, the Holy Spirit was saying it's more than motivation, because you can actually be motivated by the wrong things. And the motivation for the wrong things can be what's keeping you from acting on a lifestyle that is better for you. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, what do you mean? And he's like, well, you can be motivated by fear. You can be motivated by laziness, the fact that you don't feel like doing something. And I was like, well, people might argue, well, motivation is supposed to be positive. He's like, well, you look up the definition. Motivation is not, it could be anything. So I was like, okay, let me look up the definition of motivation. And it says, this is the Oxford Dictionary. Noun: the reason or reasons one has for acting or behaving in a particular way. And then further down it says, the general desire or willingness of someone to do something. It doesn't say positive, it doesn't say negative. It just literally says the reason or reasons one has for acting or behaving a particular way. And that could be, to me, any reason, whether it's good or bad and different, and the desire or willingness of someone to do something. And so my desires can just be, I don't feel like doing something, and so I'm sitting up here and I'm like, oh my gosh. Okay, I'm gonna have to really study this further in my time to really get this deeply, because it let me know that all the times before, and I'm so glad that he led me to move past motivation, the beginning of 2023, to understand it was deeper than that. Because I didn't really get this part until today, that motivations can be, you can be motivated by money, and take a job that really does not align with your values or your ethics, because your main motivation is they want to pay you $100,000 a year. And what I found out is there's some jobs I'm just not gonna do, no matter how much money they offer me. I'm not motivated by money. Money's good, money's great, but at the end of the day, I gotta sleep well at night, and then I said, well, discipline is, or self-discipline, or self-control, or really consistency. I said, well, those things, discipline is showing up for myself even when motivation to do something else is present, right? So the discipline is like what just happened a little while ago. I wanted something to eat. I was hungry. I hadn't eaten all day. It's 1 o'clock, and I'm looking all around me. There's a kebab place right here that looks good. I could have kept going down the street. I was like, oh, that place looks good. There's a Caribbean place down there. And they probably had a healthy option for me. But I also knew down the street was a Wawa. I can get me a bunless hoagie or a salad or something that has fresh spinach, fresh, like very fresh vegetables on it. I know that they have that. I don't have to look for anything different. I know I can get me some pineapple or some watermelon and stay on track with my plan. You know. And so, even though I wanted something else, I went with what I knew was going to keep me on track with my plan. And that takes not motivation, but discipline in order to stick with the plan, even when I feel like I want something else. And I also decided to look up the definition of discipline. And there's probably many other definitions besides the Oxford. But this one, it says noun, it says the practice of training people to obey rules or a code of behavior using punishment to correct disobedience, a lack of proper parental and school discipline. It says control, regulation, or direction. The second part says a branch. Okay, no, that's not what I'm looking for. They're talking about discipline as education. And that was the noun, and the verb is to train someone to obey rules or a code of behavior using punishment to correct disobedience. And I was like, oh, that's interesting, and I want to look up some other definitions of it as well, because I was like, well, I'm disciplined as training myself to obey rules or a code of behavior, but I'm not doing it using punishment to correct disobedience. And so that's why I was like, I don't really like this definition, because I'm not punishing myself by eating healthy. I'm not punishing myself by practicing discipline. You know, I think that people think that eating healthy is a type of punishment because you don't get to indulge in the things that you really want. But the way that I've trained my brain to understand is, it's actually not a punishment to eat healthy. It's a gift from God. The punishment would be if I stayed addicted to sugar and I end up in a disease-ridden body full of inflammation that causes heart disease, diabetes, all this other stuff. To me, that's punishment. And I think that as society, we have to stop looking at discipline like it's some sort of punishment or some sort of deprivation, because there's so many benefits that come from a disciplined lifestyle. I mean, it's a beautiful experience to be able to exist without the drama of being unhealthy. And that's just my thought process. Do I ever experience moments where I just want to eat something that is not on the plan? Of course I still do. Of course. But my motivation is not to just eat what I want when I feel like it. My motivation is, I want a lifestyle and I want a temple that is conducive to the things that God has for me. And if I'm taking care of my body, then more likely I can exist in a world where I'm ready to do some of the things that I feel like I'm supposed to do, like traveling, exploring the world, helping other people in different ways in health and wellness, just being able to be present fully present and not worried about certain health conditions because I keep choosing to do the wrong thing. My motivation is to just live well, to try to live as long as I can on the earth that God allows, because He has the final say anyway. To be able to be here with the most clarity of mind that I can. And when I was still eating carbs and doing certain things, I had a lot of foggy brain. I had a lot of down moments where I just was like, the brain is like, because you just can't think, and it just feels like I can't describe the feeling it was for that type of pressure to go away, to be relieved of feeling very dull, in the brain. And that comes from like spikes in sugar and stuff sometimes. And just having, like I said, that inflammation is crazy. So we have to make sure we are examining our motivations, that we're really examining what is driving us today, and understand that you can be motivated by the fact that you don't feel like exercising. Are you going to do it anyway? Are you going to let that be your number one motivator? Or are you going to let your goals to what you want to look like or the lifestyle you want to live be your number one motivator? So we have to shift our motivation sometimes, because what I've learned is, like, I've heard people say, I'm just waiting to get motivated. What I'm learning now, looking at that definition, is we're always motivated by something. Always. And it can be good or bad. I could be motivated by the fact that I don't feel like getting up in the morning, so I'm going to stay in the bed. I ain't going to do my core exercises today before I go out the house. You know, and sometimes you might need to rest and stay in the bed, but I got to figure out what time of the day I'm going to do that later. I have to rearrange stuff to make sure that I keep the promises that I've made to myself every day. And here's the thing that I also got the other day. If I'm practicing keeping promises to myself, then I can keep promises to other people. But if I'm constantly breaking promises for the better to myself, then that makes me untrustworthy to myself. And I don't make a whole lot of promises. I don't. But and I've learned that. Don't make a promise that you can't keep. Don't lie to yourself. If you think that you can't do something, then you're gonna have to work on that part before you can make a promise to yourself. So I promised myself that I was going to do my floor and core exercises every day this month. And I did share that I think I missed Saturday. I can't remember right now because I've been so busy. But I did think about it later, and I was like, oh, I did get some other exercise in that day. It just wasn't that. So, but I did say, hey, and that was the same day I was like, you got to keep your promises to yourself, Jamie. Like, if there are things that are going to get in the way of the promises that you keep to yourself, you have to examine those things that are getting in the way. Is it worth it to you? Don't break your own heart. Don't break your own heart, you know. So I thought it was important to record this message on discipline. Not on discipline, on motivation. For people to really understand that, you know, motivations come in different ways. you're praying to God for motivation, you have to be specific. You have to say, Lord, I want to be motivated by the fact that I need to feel like this, or to live like this, or to, look like this, or, and I'm talking about in and around health and wellness right now, but you know what's going to motivate you that way. Now, it could be that you're trying to save money. And I'm just going to use another example because everybody's goals are different. So sometimes it's hard. People have a hard time saving money because they have a hard time saying no to certain things. And so you might, I'm just trying to think of an example. Like, okay, for instance, something I used to struggle with saying no to different things that friends had going on, and it would be something that costs money, like every month. Everybody want to do something every single month of the year, and it's like, wait a minute. If I don't have an emergency fund, or if I don't have a certain amount of income saved, I can't keep saying yes to people. I just can't. I'm not going to keep on showing up, because when I need a loan, these people ain't going to be able to show up for me. So I can be motivated by the fact that I want to hang out with my friends and be at all these events. Or I could be motivated by the fact that my bank account ain't looking like I want it to look. So I got to do something different. I got to move differently. What am I going to allow to lead in my life? And I'm like, oh yeah, like, no. So I'm motivated by, hold on, this thing. I was going to look up something for y'all. I've been having issues with the network today on my phones, and so it's really getting on my nerves because I don't know what's going on. I have T-Mobile, and T-Mobile and Sprint came together, and I've been in this area a lot, so there's really no reason why the network is not working, except for something's wrong with a satellite or whatever. But I can't look up anything. And I'm like, I've been over here so many times. There's no reason why I can't look up stuff. But, hold on a second. Well, I was trying to get this thing to connect, but it won't let me. But I think I've said enough. I've given you the Oxford definition. I wanted to look up some other definitions. Oh, there it goes. Now it's acting right. Now I got full bars. Maybe it's acting right. We'll see in a second. Nope, it's pretending like it's literally pretending. Yeah, it's literally pretending. So I'm just gonna let it go. But I will revisit this again in another video. I'll go further talking about motivation, and I'm gonna read this one more time before I disconnect. Motivation definition, Oxford. Now, the reason or reasons one has for acting or behaving in a particular way. In a sentence, they said, escape can be a strong motivation for travel. And I've been there before, trying to escape some things. And then the similar word, motive or motivating force. So you have to ask yourself, what is the motivating force? What has been the number one motivator in your life? And you have to be honest with yourself. If you've been motivated by the fact that you just don't feel like doing something, or you're waiting on a miraculous push to feel like doing something, I'm telling you, you guys, it may not come. Because self-control and self-discipline, again, you got to show up for yourself even when you don't feel like it. You got to show up and make decisions even when you don't feel like it. And if you don't feel like it, then you need to address the reasons why. You have to address it. We have to dig deep. inside of our souls, inside of our spirits, and really talk to Jesus, talk to a therapist, talk to whoever, whatever, and then not just talk about it, but deal with it and say, you know what? I may not feel like making the right choice today, but I'm going to make the right choice today because boom, 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 boom. And be intentional every day to do that. It's hard. It is not easy. And I want people to understand, when you live in a world where everybody's doing their own thing, everybody's doing what they want to do, everybody around you is eating what they want to eat when they get ready to. Most of your friends are drinking and partying, and they're eating fried food when they want to eat fried food. They're eating steak, they're eating whatever, and they're eating big portions, and they're going to the gym when they feel like it, which is probably never. And if this is what you normally see on a regular basis, inconsistency in lifestyle, if this is what you normally see, it's really hard. And because our environments shape who we are, and sometimes people are in positions where they cannot control their environment, especially children. And then we wonder why our children are the way that they are. Well, what have you shown your children? Have you shown your children consistency, discipline, order? And this, again, it doesn't have to just apply to health. It could be having healthy relationships. It could be finances. It could be your work ethic. It could be health and wellness, your weight, whatever. It could be anything that this can apply to. So I'm encouraging people to examine their lives and examine what your motivations are. I'm going to really try to study this thing after today. And like I said, maybe I'll come back and talk about it deeper. Because right now it's a little surface level. Because I'm just getting the revelation about, motivations can be total different things. And I've got to examine that on a deeper level now. And say, hey, I have moments where that motivation to comfort eat tries to rise up. And I got to take it captive. But with this revelation, I'm ready to take it captive even stronger now. Like, I'm ready to fight. Again, this is how you make things permanent. And I'm ready to warfare on a whole different level than I already have been. And so, yeah. I hope this helps somebody. I really do. And I'll talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.